Imagine receiving a call from someone who died and was buried a year ago. That's exactly what happened to Margaret. But what she heard on that call left her frozen, unable to move or speak. It had been exactly 1 year since Margaret buried Kenneth, the love of her life. He died in a tragic car accident just weeks before their 5th wedding anniversary. The pain hadn't fully left her heart, but time had helped her function again. And after much encouragement from friends and family, she finally found the courage to love again. A charming, soft-spoken man named Adrian had swept her off her feet. He reminded her of everything she once had with Kenneth, and maybe more. Her wedding to Adrian was just 3 days away. The dress was ready. The venue was set. Guests were flying in from all over. Her heart fluttered with excitement and fear. But the fear wasn't about Adrian. It was something else. Something she couldn't explain. The night before her bridal shower, Margaret stayed up late going through old photographs of Kenneth. She smiled at some, cried at others. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated. She answered. At first, there was static, then a voice. Deep. Familiar. Impossible. Margaret, it's me. Kenneth. Her heart stopped. Her hands trembled. You can't marry him. Don't go through with the wedding, the voice said calmly. You're in danger. The call ended. Just like that. She sat frozen in her room, the phone still in her hand, her heart racing like a drum in her chest. Logic fought emotion. Was it a prank? A cruel joke? Or something darker? She tried to sleep that night but couldn't. Her mind was a battlefield of memories and fear. By morning, her best friend Jennifer noticed the bags under her eyes and the shakiness in her voice. Margaret didn't tell anyone what happened. She wanted to believe it was a nightmare. That her mind was playing tricks. That grief still lingered deep in places she didn't know existed. But deep down, she knew that voice. She knew Kenneth. She knew what she heard. Yet, love is a powerful force, and denial is even stronger. The day before the wedding, Margaret stood in front of the mirror, fully dressed for the rehearsal. Her phone rang again. Same unknown number. She didn't answer this time. But a text came through. Please don't marry him. You don't know the truth. Margaret told herself she was just imagining things. She pushed through the rehearsal. Everything went smoothly. Adrian was perfect. Too perfect. Still, that night, sleep never came. She dreamed of Kenneth. Standing at the end of a long, dark hallway. Reaching out. Calling her name. Run, he whispered. She woke up in cold sweat. The wedding was just hours away. But Margaret had made up her mind. She would walk down that aisle. Even if her heart told her not to. Even if her late husband begged her from beyond the grave. Even if something felt wrong. She had to see it through. The big day arrived like a dream Margaret had been too afraid to believe in. The morning sun filtered softly through her window as her bridesmaids giggled and fussed over her. The air was sweet with the scent of flowers, and everything, from her dress to the tiny lace ribbons on the chairs, looked perfect. She hadn't heard Kenneth's voice again. No more calls. No more warnings. And as she stepped out in her flowing white gown, a calmness she hadn't felt in months settled in her spirit. Maybe it was just her grief playing tricks on her. Maybe Kenneth's message was her own fear speaking through a voice she trusted. Today was about Adrian. Her new beginning. Her new life. The wedding venue sparkled under the golden afternoon light. Guests stood in admiration as Margaret walked down the aisle. Adrian stood at the altar, eyes locked on hers, smiling with a warmth that melted every shadow of doubt. There were no interruptions. No strange calls. Just soft music, heartfelt vows, and joyful tears. When the pastor declared them husband and wife, and Adrian kissed her gently, the guests erupted in applause. Margaret smiled through her tears. It was real. It had finally happened. She was now Mrs. Margaret Cole. The reception was just as beautiful. Laughter echoed through the garden, the food was perfect, and friends and family danced well into the evening. For the first time in a long while, Margaret felt free, like a heavy door had finally closed behind her. But life has a way of opening doors we never knew existed. It happened 3 days after the honeymoon. Margaret had returned home to settle into married life. One evening, while Adrian was out for a meeting, she decided to unpack a few boxes he had stored in the guest room. She wasn't snooping, just organizing. But at the bottom of one box, beneath old clothes and notebooks, she found a sealed envelope. Curiosity got the best of her. She opened it. What she found inside made her chest tighten. Documents. Old ones. A psychiatric report. Dated 6 years ago. It listed Adrian's full name. No mistake. And beside it, diagnosis: dissociative identity disorder. Margaret sat down slowly. She flipped through the rest of the report. The handwriting of a specialist described a man who had struggled with violent episodes, memory loss, and blackouts. Entire periods of his life he couldn't remember. Further down, she found a record of an incident. A woman. Injured. A girlfriend, perhaps? The report said she had declined to press charges but warned that Adrian's condition made him unpredictable, especially under emotional stress. Margaret felt her hands trembling. Her husband had never mentioned this. Never once. She tried to steady her breathing, but questions swirled in her mind. Was this why Kenneth warned her? Was Adrian hiding a version of himself she hadn't yet met? She heard the front door open. Adrian was home. Margaret quickly closed the box and stood up, trying to act normal. But everything had changed. She had married a man with a hidden past, and possibly a dangerous one. Margaret didn't sleep that night. She lay beside Adrian, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, wondering which version of him was lying next to her. The one who kissed her forehead so gently, or the one described in the report, the one with dangerous gaps in memory and violent episodes. Morning came, and with it, an uncomfortable silence. Margaret wanted to confront him. But how? Hey, I was unpacking and found your mental health records. Oh. That wouldn't go well. So she watched. Observed. At first, nothing seemed off. Adrian was sweet, attentive, and kind. He made breakfast. He kissed her goodbye when he went to work. But at times, he would pause in the middle of a sentence, go quiet, stare into space. Other times, he'd forget conversations they had just hours earlier. Then came the first real sign. It was a Thursday night. Margaret returned home late from an event and found Adrian sitting alone in the dark, murmuring something to himself. The lights were off. His shirt was stained with something red, wine, maybe? When she called his name, he didn't respond. Not at first. Then, slowly, he turned to face her. But the look in his eyes wasn't the man she knew. His expression was cold. His voice was low. You weren't supposed to come home yet. Margaret froze. He blinked, looked confused, then smiled like nothing had happened. She pretended to smile back. But inside, her heart was pounding. The next day, she decided to dig deeper. She searched the house for more clues, anything to help her understand who she had married. In the bottom drawer of Adrian's study desk, hidden beneath receipts and papers, she found a small USB drive. She plugged it into her laptop. There were video files. Home videos. But not of her. They were of other women. Different faces. Different times. All sitting in the same room, talking to the camera like they were being interviewed. One clip caught her attention. A woman with dark eyes and a bruised lip. She spoke quietly. He's sweet at first. Then, something changes. Like he doesn't know who I am. 1 minute he's Adrian. The next, I don't know. I'm scared. Margaret slammed the laptop shut. Her hands shook. It wasn't just a past condition. It was still happening. And she was next. That evening, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. A shaky voice on the other end whispered, "Is this Margaret?" "Yes." "I don't know how to say this, but I was once engaged to Adrian. I found your email by accident. You need to get out." I barely made it out alive. The call cut off. Margaret ignored the call. She told herself it was fear-mongering, another jealous ex trying to poison her joy. Besides, Adrian had been nothing but loving. Everyone had a past, she reasoned, but not everyone had her patience. She was different. She believed in second chances, in healing, in love. And for a while, love seemed enough. But then came the argument. It was over something small, forgotten groceries, a misplaced key. But Adrian changed. His eyes darkened. He went silent. Then, without warning, he shoved Margaret into the restroom. The door slammed shut behind her. She laughed at first. "Adrian, are you serious?" There was no answer. She reached for her phone, but it wasn't in her pocket. She tried the handle. Locked. She banged on the door, called his name, shouted. Nothing. Adrian had locked every door in the house. And he had left town. Hours passed. Then days. Margaret drank from the restroom tap to stay alive. Her stomach ached from hunger. Her voice weakened from endless screaming. But no one heard her. The mansion, once her dream home, was now a prison. Each moment in the darkness, she heard Kenneth's words echoing in her head. "Don't go to that wedding." By the fourth day, Margaret had no more tears. Her reflection in the mirror was almost unrecognizable. Swollen eyes, pale skin, cracked lips. She scratched the walls. She prayed. She regretted. By the sixth day, she gave up on screaming. Then, on the seventh day, hope stirred. The gatekeeper, named Samuel, noticed something strange. He hadn't seen his madam in a week. Her car still sat untouched in the compound. She hadn't followed Adrian on the trip. But no one had seen her leave. He grew worried. He called Margaret's 2 phone lines, both switched off. Fear gripped him. Samuel had worked for Adrian for over 2 years. He had seen strange things. He had tried to warn Margaret before, but she never listened. She thought he was being overprotective. Now, he feared the worst. When Adrian's numbers also didn't connect, Samuel ran to the police. Minutes later, 2 officers followed him back to the house. Every door was locked. They knocked. They shouted. No answer. Samuel remembered something. He had once seen the house keys inside Margaret's locked car while cleaning it. A panel beater was quickly called. The car was opened. The keys retrieved. The officers searched room by room. Silence. Until a faint, broken cry. Samuel's ears perked. He followed the sound like a heartbeat in the dark. They found her. Margaret lay on the cold restroom floor, barely conscious. Her face was thin and sunken. Her voice, too faint to speak. Her dress stained from days of being trapped in her own tears and silence. The officers and Samuel quickly lifted her out. Samuel rushed to cook something warm for her, and as she sipped slowly, her eyes filled with gratitude and pain. Adrian was arrested the moment he returned a week later. When asked why he locked up his wife, his reply shocked everyone. "I don't remember doing that. I've never hurt her. I love her." But the truth had finally surfaced. Adrian suffered from a serious and untreated mental illness. He had violent dissociative episodes. And Margaret had been his latest victim. 3 months after their wedding, Margaret filed for divorce. But she didn't stop there. She bought Samuel a fully furnished apartment and established a profitable business for him. Her way of saying thank you for saving her life when no one else noticed she was gone. She walked away from the marriage, scarred but stronger, wiser and alive. Sometimes, life has to teach us a lesson the hard way. Love is not always enough. Safety and peace of mind should never be sacrificed for the illusion of a perfect relationship. Always listen to the whispers of caution, even when you don't understand them. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment your thoughts, and share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more emotional, mysterious, and real-life inspired stories. Thank you very much for watching.